Is it supposed to? Is it supposed to? Oh no. Okay.
Mute.
Is this? Okay, I'm glad I checked. Okay, so we're unmuted now. Hello.
Sorry, I'm not giving you a workshop.
That's okay. Only Brian is, so he's getting a fun. Yeah. So if anyone's listening at home, which I don't think anyone is, Brian is the only one here. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm good. How are you, Christian?
I'm good.
It will be recorded and on YouTube, so hello to the internet of the future.
Hi, internet of the future. My name is Christian Gramling. I'm a designer. And I'm also a specter. So, Traversal. It's getting from point A to point B. There you go.
What happens if you want to go to point C?
Then you do that usually after B, or not if you're doing
Isn't
a
that just
method.
another case of going from point A to point B?
But it's C, not B.
Yeah, but the labels are arbitrary.
But what if they're right?
Well, then you would have a situation like this, where the level is all interconnected, and you can go from point A to point C
still
without
best
going
down,
to
right?
B. I think so. I stole this from
It's an
Louis.
old Hollow Knight map.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like before the game was even
Make your world interconnect. Does that make traversing better?
Yeah, because so a big traversal problem that people have is, say, I don't know, say there aren't connections anywhere here, and this is the only entrance, right? You would go through and then beat it, and then you just have to like travel through a bunch of like empty space where all the enemies died, instead of maybe you beat this, but oh, what's this? I discovered a new path that takes me here to a new area, and now I never have to backtrack.
But the thing is, you do need to do a lot of backtracking in Hollow Knight because that's the type of game that it wants. Like, you're going from point A to point B to point C, but you need to go back to point A. Although it's almost like it may be.
And the adventure of discovering makes traversal more interesting.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is because like yes, you do a lot of backtracking.
You're looking at Duncan's YouTube tier list.
But it's not like point A to point B to point A, and then point A to point C to point A. Like, there's, oh, okay, it reconnected. Yeah.
Don't have the screen, it gets mad
I
at you.
won't. Yeah, there's like an infinite amount of, not infinite, but there's a crap ton of choices for you.
So what are your thoughts of the inclusion of the dream now and the ability for you to teleport?
I was actually fine with it because it's a one-way teleport, right?
Yeah. What about the
This thing's already full of a whole bunch of teleportation areas.
Yeah,
like trains and like.
there's a tram.
The stagways. So that's another thing that can make travel more interesting, because.
Or it gets rid of it. It gets rid of having to travel. I don't think it makes it more interesting.
It doesn't get rid of travel though, because there's specific places where there's a stagway, right?
Fair.
So like if I want to be in the, I remember there was a point in the Kingdom's Edge.
I don't think there's one in the Kingdom's Edge.
There isn't exactly, but there's a point in the Kingdom's Edge that I wanted to go to a lot, and so a lot of times I would I would take the stagway to the City of Tears and sneak in through here and up, or I would stagway here and go up, or stagway here.
I actually remember
and go
playing this
down.
game trying to decide like what stagway to go to because you're gonna
Right.
have to traverse or something.
The
Yes.
best
to get
way
where
to
you're
get to the
trying
Colosseum of Fools is by climbing up the broken climbing up the elevator in the air,
Yeah,
and then using your crystalline dash to just go.
to
for
skip
it.
through.
Yeah, and you just go all the way from the elevator.
It took me a while to discover that though. But like you understand how like having discovered that fastest way to get there
Yeah.
is interesting in and of itself, even if it's all space that you've already traveled.
What are your thoughts on the crystalline dash?
Huh?
The crystal core, whatever it is. The one that lets you just hold S and then you just fly in a direction.
Right.
That doesn't really affect backtracking very much. It makes you go faster.
Yeah, it kind of it does help with that. I would
Do you
say.
like the traversal of Hollow Knight?
Yes, I love the traversal.
What do you like about traversing?
Huh?
What do you like about traversing?
There's no bland piece of scenery.
That's definitely something that Hollow Knight.
You like the art?
Yeah, the art, but also like the structure itself of the level. And I talked about this earlier. Oh boy. Okay, I'll get to the actual slides in a bit. But there's something I talked about. Mini goals, which is just like at every single point, like in this shot, you'll see like your goal at any given point is like, okay, I want to get to this next platform, and it doesn't matter that this is a completely unimportant stretch of space, because you're still kind of having fun. Like if you fall there, then you screwed yourself.
This is the place that like transforms from like one background
Yeah.
type to another. It's kind of cool.
That's another
You
example.
have to go through the entire thing again.
Right.
Go
So
to the other
Yeah, I think
side,
I remember
climb
this,
up, and go all
this
the way to the
section.
other
Yeah.
side.
So it's like this could have easily been an empty corridor, but no, they put these enemies. They put this
There
thing where you
still
have
are
to.
several empty corridors in this game.
Yeah, but those are only there to build up tension, right? They're the only ones that I've seen. It's kind of just like this atmospheric experience.
Is there one near where you find? You find Zote in there at one point, I believe. It's just like a long empty corridor in the City of Tears.
So you're saying the way that they made this more interesting
I mean, worst comes to worst, like, you can bring your girl.
through the level design is
Little conflicts like falls. That enemy is trivial to beat, but the fact that it's there makes it just.
and it's more tension because there's a higher stake.
So you're
Right.
not just holding one button.
So you're
Yeah.
saying that you
Waiting
like
for
the
time.
traversal in Hollow Knight because it engages you? It makes you have to pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, because if we're talking about what makes traversal fun, right? We first have to answer the question: what makes a game fun? So like, what is fun about platforming, or a firefight, or playing Smash and wrecking your friends, or solving a puzzle?
Conflict?
Yeah, conflict generally is the case, but like if you look at a game like, I don't know, conflict is a.
Usually don't have conflict in it.
What was that?
Puzzles. Would you consider a puzzle a conflict?
I would, yeah. I think conflict is at the core of a lot of it, but there's also, that's not the only thing that makes games fun. Like, you can have fun just in the act of expressing yourself or of mastering a system, right? And there's kind of inherently a conflict there when it comes to mastering, because it's kind of like you against the skill gap. But all this applies directly to traversal, right? Like, a platforming section carries over, but like, say you're climbing a building in Assassin's Creed, like, what is fun about that? In certain cases, you're just holding the up, and the character's kind of climbing itself. But a lot of times, it's still a lot of fun, even when it's like a simple
Fun from
thing.
exploring? I don't know, actually, because I haven't played that.
In terms of traversal, like there's lots of different things that you get out of moving from one place to another. There's like exploration. And
Yeah, there's the scenery. There's like the sense of vertigo that you get going up very high. There are choices that you make in like which ledges do you jump on, right? What about shields? Like, how many of you guys have played Breath of the Wild, and how often do you shield surf?
Every time I see a hill.
I'm scared of breaking my shield.
I break all my weapons and all my shields and just drop them randomly and then punch people to death.
You can't punch people in that game.
Well, I grab a heavy metal object and ram people with it.
It's the equivalent of punching. Okay, so what makes shield surfing fun? That makes you do it all the time.
It's fast.
Fast. Yeah?
It simultaneously removes a lot of control from you
Yeah.
and changes in exchange for speed. So it's
Yeah.
like giving you a trade of
Right.
speed for control. So you
Yeah.
can't go back, but you got like jumps and it changes your it's fun in the simple thing that it changes the way you play the game.
Right.
And so you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. You're not just
Exactly.
pressing forward. Now you're going back and forth. You're like, oh, there's a rock, I have to dodge it. And like, by increasing your speed and adding the ability, so like while you're shield surfing, you can fall. While you're walking, you can't really fall.
Yeah.
And so like, there's a little bit more tension of, oh, I'm in a position of I have to stay stable.
The fact that you lose some control kind of creates new little conflicts, right?
It makes you engaged, right?
Yeah.
So that's.
It also gives you options in how you traverse the world, which I think is really
That's
Yeah, yeah. Because if you're going faster from the shield thing, you might be able to like go off of a ledge and go farther. Like there was a specific place that I wanted to get to, and instead of walking all the way around, I kept trying to shield surf to get the momentum to do it, and it worked. I added a speedrun. Have any of you played speedrun?
I've not played it.
I have also
Kyle
not played it.
a lot
I've
of
also
it.
seen Kyle play it. Yeah. I don't know. That was just. I think from what I heard from Kyle, I feel like the speedrunner thing is more of a mastery thing.
It's definitely mastery.
Yeah. So like
There's a lot
hitting
of
all
there's a lot of like being able to predict where your swing is going to, and like the art of your swing. As well, like where you're gonna go and when to let go to contain the greatest momentum.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah.
I was gonna. Sorry, it's tangent.
That's okay.
But okay. I wanted to sort of talk about like from the perspective of as a game designer, if I wanted to make like a level-based platformer game,
Yeah.
what should I be thinking about to make traversal more interesting or more fun? Like,
So that becomes a bit easier in a platformer game because the traversal is the like kind of the conflict. But what you want to think about is
You can always if you give your players multiple options between a stage, that could be interesting.
yeah, different options. Like if you can have a straightforward just challenge, right? Like can you move fast enough, or can you figure out this puzzle? And that can appeal to that sense of mastery or challenge, but you can also add, like you said, options, and then that also can appeal to expression.
Something cool that you can do is like have another path that you can take that requires like high mastery of the game, like you understand mechanics, you understand core mechanics of the game very well. For example, in Hollow Knight, there's a thing that you can do which is called what is it? Bouncing, whatever it is, where you swing your nail down at an obstacle and it bounces you off the ground. You can have passageways that are like, hey, if you know how to, for example, there's an area right at the beginning of the game where usually you would require the wall jump in order to get through it. But if you know how to nail hop, you can hop through that passageway to get to an area that you would normally not have access to.
so it's two different ways mechanically of going to the same path.
Yeah.
But that's different from creating two separate paths to get from the same point A to point B, which I think might be like specifically designing two separate paths from point A to point B is weird because if one of them is specifically harder, then is there a reward for going to the harder one? You know, like you might want to say, oh, this one's harder but it's faster, and that could be cool. But like if they're both the same.
Another danger with that is the one good thing about having it be the same path, just the way that you go through it is different. Another good thing about that is that the player doesn't feel like they're missing out on content.
Right. It's better to have different ways of traversing the same area than just different areas to traverse the same goal.
Yeah.
Where, like you have short segments of the traversal where like, hey, if you do this, you'll get to the other side faster than if you do something else. For example, let's say again the bouncing technique. Like in Hollow Knight, let's say there was a moving platform from point A to point B with enemies in the middle of it. Whereas you can wait for the platform to get from point A to point B, or you can use your bounce off of the enemies to get there faster.
There's another thing to consider is that there's more to, and I talk about this a little bit later in the slides, I think. It's another aspect of it that determines how good your traversal feels is the relationship between the level design and the mechanics of the game. Because it's not enough to make it challenging. Because like you can have two games that are equally challenging, but one maybe just feels nicer. And that level design wise, that's usually when the levels are literally shaped based on your ability. So like if you look in a lot of places in Celeste, yeah, the exact length of a section of spikes might be exactly the length of your dash, right? So it just feels perfect when you jump over it and dash across. You have just enough space to get through, and that feels nice. That like near miss feeling.
So some of those levels in Celeste feel like they have very specific designs of like, oh, they want you to do this sequence of inputs to like get through this level.
Yeah.
I think that he specifically does. I remember there was a GDC talk.
Yeah, he talks about the level story, and he has like a specific path
He talked
design.
about one specific level where he was like editing it to make sure that players couldn't go.
So that's one method of thinking about how to create levels is to think, hey, I want the player to learn how to use these like moves together to get to this goal, and like the level is to let them figure that out. I think he also talks about having different ways of beating levels. So even though there is a like main story you can go, there are still options of different things you can do. But I feel like as the game gets more difficult and more precise, there's less options, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if that's true.
And that depends on the mastery, because like there's some tricks that you can do that like completely change the game. But from the perspective of a regular player, the majority of Celeste, I think it's less about choices and more about figuring out like, how do I beat this?
Do you think there's an example of a platformer that has more in the choices you have in the level design? Because I think platformers in general are more like get from point A to point B and you have movement options.
There's this game, I can't remember what it's called. It's about you're like a bird, and it's basically a Hollow Knight / Metroidvania type game, except for it starts you off with every single tool you need to get every single.
I've heard of
life
this
in the
game. What is it called?
I can't remember.
I want to look
Oh,
this
I
up.
remember. There was a Game Maker's Toolkit about it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's like a knowledge-based Metroidvania.
But what they give you like all of the control, and they have like their learning path of learning, but you can get anywhere in the game from the beginning, and so what was I gonna say?
Like the Metroidvania aspects of it.
Where the enjoyment of exploring the thing is learning how do I use these tools. You enjoy playing the game by learning how do I use these tools, not by just getting a new tool and then learning how do I use this tool, but getting new situations of I have these set of tools, I can do like 4 things.
Do you have traversal options in that game of how you move?
No, you can basically just walk back and
Just
forth.
walking.
I don't think you can barely even.
The main
jump.
mechanics are just interactions are not like movement
Yeah.
based. Is
But-
traversing interesting?
Yes. Mostly because traversing between places is usually fairly short. You don't do a lot of like long paths. It's more of like a puzzle. You interact with a puzzle, and then you interact with another puzzle, and then you
In
interact
that
with
case,
another
would it be
puzzle.
that the traversal is interesting, or is it not, or that there's not much traversal at all?
I mean, I think both a little bit, because I think that even if the act of moving itself isn't that fun, like the physical act,
It's also kind of adorable.
it's what?
It's when you're a bird and when you like waddle, it looks adorable.
Right, there's that aspect of it. There's an aspect of like as you move, you're running into new puzzles.
Yeah, but one.
Tori, yeah. So you're running into more and more things that are interesting. So it like I guess
Sorry.
that's a good question. It's like iffy for me, but I would lean towards because like you're not getting bored walking around, right?
I suppose.
What do you think the game designers' intentions were with? What do you think they were thinking about when they designed these levels?
I can't remember. It seems like they were trying to make a puzzle game.
It feels like a puzzle Metroidvania.
Yeah, it seems like they're making a puzzle game and they didn't intend to make a Metroidvania. And then it just kind of happened. We're like, oh, this is a Metroidvania.
This art is kind of interesting. Huh.
Is that a
Weird.
3D model?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's your different options, it looks like. But yeah.
I'd actually be interested if you had a Metroidvania based on it as you go through it, you lose options.
What do you think is an example of a game that has bad traversal?
A bunch of MMOs.
Yeah.
I would, yeah.
Where all you can do is just walk from point A to point B, and like you don't even have to fight anything if you don't want to. You just walk past them.
Is that game? Well, okay.
It's WoW I'm talking about.
I mean,
as well.
it's an adventure game, right? Like, so the traversal should be
Traversal
interesting.
There's
should
a
be
ton of
interesting, but it's
traversal,
not.
especially like early
Like
game.
RPG.
There's a ton of you just walk
Yeah,
to a
you
place,
just walk
you do
from
a
point
thing,
A
and then
to
you
point
walk
B.
back.
Sometimes it's even like, hey, walk to this place and talk to the person.
and then like it's
Do you think
possible
that
to get
hurts
like
with their main goal for what the game is supposed to be?
the main goal is a social experience.
Yeah, so it doesn't really add anything to it, but then again, it's not their main goal.
I would say most of their design probably goes not into gameplay. They do put a lot of design into gameplay, but most of their design goes into facilitating a social space between people and being able to interact with other people.
That said, they do little things here and there to kind of make traversal a little better.
You can jump.
So yeah, you can, which doesn't really
I
help.
always
but-
say, the difference between being able to press a button and something happen while you're traversing and not being able to press the button and something happening immediately doubles the enjoyment of traversal.
Yeah.
And like after a while, just pressing A over and over gets boring. But
It still helps. It's better
after
than
a
this one.
while, you get a car, or you get a steed, or you get
Yeah.
other
But
stuff.
that doesn't really make traversal more fun. It just means like, oh, cool, I don't have to sit here waiting for
It makes
as much
traversal
time.
less boring.
It
There's not
also
It makes it less
Yeah.
long.
It also, to me, adds a little bit of fantasy to it, where like you're riding a horse
Oh, that
through
does
the
make
forest. That like to me, that's viscerally a little bit like cool. They do other little
They
things
focus
here
on
and
the
there.
role-playing.
Right. Whenever you go into enter a new area, the music changes, and then like the name of the area appears, and there's like a musical. So like I remember, I have visceral memories of like walking into Elwyn Forest for the first time. It says Elwyn Forest. I'm like, ooh, like it just kind of feels nice. Or like when I stumbled upon Duskwood, I was like, ah, shit.
I don't know these places. But yeah, exploration makes a big.
One of the
impact on
funnest
traversal.
things I ever did in World of Warcraft was ignore the game. And me and my brother, we logged in, we ignored all of the game, and as level 1, we started in the human area, and we wanted to travel to the very bottom of the continent.
Okay,
Um,
that sounds really interesting.
And everything was over leveled for us. So it became this interesting level, a game of like, we're just explorers wandering around, and there are like tigers trying to attack us, like things chasing us down.
But you were able
these
to
giant
avoid
spiders.
the combat?
A little bit. We were killed a lot, and then we would respawn and run more and get killed. And like,
Did you just want to be in the last area while level 1?
it was just a fun challenge. So I think traversal can be interesting in the game, but because they put so much emphasis on everything else, if you're doing everything else, then the traversal is just boring, right? Because you're traveling from quest marker to quest marker, and that's not interesting.
But would you still find that same traversal?
But
be
acting
fun?
as explorers into unknown land, that was
Yeah.
fun.
I don't think
It depends what you want to get out of the
I think World of
experience.
Warcraft could
Yeah.
definitely
If you're just like, I want to like level up my character to use spells and do cool looking things.
Yeah, then traversal is just
But,
a
like,
buffer.
Yeah, but if
It's
you want to
not
be
the
role
main
playing
focus
as
of
this
WoW.
fantasy world that I'm literally a part
and
of.
it's one of the many
Yeah.
reasons why I don't like the game.
One of my favorite traversal experiences is playing Dark Souls. There's
Yeah.
like a secret little path you can take, and you can go there like, at the very beginning of the game, and you get like this red thing, and you go down, and you open a gate, and you walk out the door, and then on the top of your screen, whenever you enter an area, it gives you like a little ding, and it tells
Yeah.
you what area you're in, and it does it, and then it's called Valley of the Drakes, and you're
Yeah.
like, I don't think I'm ready to fight a bunch of drakes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I immediately turned around and went back the way I came, and I didn't go there till like way later. But that was like a very memorable experience of
Right.
being able to get into a position traversal is fun if you can, or exploring is fun.
Yeah.
If you can get to a place where you probably shouldn't be.
Yeah. That always feels nice.
If you can't get to, if you're exploring, you can only get to places where you should be there. Then you don't have this realization of, oh, I need to actually understand how this game works before I can actually interact with it. There's not, the game is just like, okay, yeah, you can come look at this pretty thing. And like sometimes that can be fun. There's this game that I want to get that you're an artist and basically all you do is explore the world and like look at things and like, oh, that would be cool to paint, and then paint it.
Do you actually paint it, or is it just like a photo?
It paints for you or something, I don't remember. But I was like, oh, that's like a cool little experience, or I can't remember what it's called. We have it on here. What's the swimming game? Abzu, which I think is ridiculously fun. And that's just exploration in a very linear fashion.
Right.
Which is funny, but it's a ton of fun. But like,
I don't know that game.
it's really fun.
Abzu is a very beautiful looking game.
Yeah.
It's also very interesting the way it does storytelling because it's mostly done without any telling. Like it's just showing you everything. And I think after a little bit when you get used to the movement system of the game, Traversal becomes a lot easier and a lot more fluid. It becomes a lot more interesting to do certain things.
I was saying something and I can't remember what I was trying to get at. Probably good. I'll stop talking.
You're good. Talking is always good. So let's just say you have location A with a quest, and then B with a quest, and there's nothing in between. There's no fast travel, and all the monsters are dead. How do you make that empty space fun?
Sounds really hard.
You can make it narratively interesting, or like artistically interesting if there's cool things to look at or feelings of like different places that you're experiencing on the way. Or if you like wanted to evoke a feeling of boredom, you could do that, I guess.
Right.
But I suppose it depends on what kind of game and what you're trying to do. But
You have like
Turn all the dead monsters into zombie monsters.
Yeah. So
is this a situation where you have already killed all the monsters in this place? Is that why they're dead?
Maybe.
So it's a place
Probably.
you've been to.
So
Well,
I get into things like you guys brought up, there's like choices or narrative meaning. There's a lot of that you can add to it. But one way, if it's like a very long trek that you need to do, one way to help you make that long trek interesting is to just break it up, right? So say you have to climb up a mountain. Instead of like, what can I put like between you and the top of the mountain to make it interesting? Like you can break that down into ledge to ledge, right?
Yeah.
And then getting to each ledge
I like that.
is kind of this mini goal. And then each mini goal can have obstacles. And like that becomes a lot more interesting. This journey of like you're going from ledge to ledge is a lot more interesting than a flat incline.
like getting over it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oof. But like this is kind of like an analogy, right, for how you can break that up. And this is the thing that we looked at earlier. Is like this could be a flat plane, but like by breaking it up into these little challenges, it becomes interesting.
And you can have like mini rewards on successes.
Yes.
So like, well, you get that little thing, but like in Breath of the Wild, if you're trying to get a far distance and there's a mountain between you,
Yeah.
you climb up to the top of the mountain. Now you're at the top of the mountain. What are you gonna do? You're either gonna shield surf down, or you're
Right.
gonna pull out your little thing, and it not only changes how you're interacting with the world because now you're shield surfing,
Yeah.
or your I can't remember what it's called, gliding.
We can.
But it also is like now I'm getting a reward for climbing to the top.
That's interesting. I actually used that as an example, but I didn't think of it as a reward. But I think you're right. It is. It's entirely a reward, and that's why like climbing to the top of those towers is also so rewarding because you get the map and then you can glide wherever you want, and that's very satisfying. So this is from Luis's like first level design thing, is like breaking it up into stories. That's kind of what the mini goals are. Like each ledge is kind of a story. I just thought I'd make the connection here. This is his example. Moving on. So, but that doesn't just apply to important areas. Everything should be important, but like you can put that everywhere. Oh, this is separate. See ya. Okay, those slides were out of order. anyway, this is like, this is where I would have talked about shield surfing, but we already talked about it. This is the thing that we just talked about. You can express yourself by like you choose how you want to. Like they could have just kept gliding all the way down, but they chose to switch into the shield because that switch is fun, and they wanted to shield surf down the mountain.
And you can switch back. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't take stamina to shield surf.
No, it doesn't.
So you can get your stamina back
And then jump
hit
up.
it, lift, and then go back into a parachute.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And
But the shield breaks while you're surfing on it. You just face plant, don't you?
yeah, that's what happened here. Yeah. I want to mention something about this because I was talking to Brian earlier, and he mentioned that he saw this GIF and he was like, "Wait, but this isn't really level design, right? This is mechanics design of the glider and the shield," and that's true. But like, if you think about it, how useful would the glider or shield be if they hadn't designed this? Like, if you look at the level design of this specific area, it's like not only is it a mountain, but like it has this like pipe going down. That's the perfect place to.
And it has snow on it, which
makes
not only intuitively makes you think of like sledding and stuff.
Yes.
Like culture, but it also is easier to slide down snow than it is other things, and it doesn't damage your shield as much.
Yeah. So you can. I almost mostly just shield surf on snow because I know it does less damage. And that's amazing. That's like they took the mechanics of snow and shield and everything and carved this perfect place for you to slide down because they know that's what you want to do. And like you said, it's the perfect reward for being able to climb up the mountain. This is also another way to make backtracking interesting. Like if you have to backtrack, might as well like making this fun slide. So we talked about multiple options earlier, but this is like a Rayman's example from that I also stole from Luis.
I think that's a little quick.
Oh yeah. So this is Dandara. This is a game that I love. I always bring this up. I am 1 minute away from beating the world record of this game. It's a Metroidvania that doesn't have gravity. So basically, you zip around. You can jump. There's a certain range that you can jump, and you can only jump on those patches of salt. And movement is always super fun in this game. Traversal is always super duper fun because first off, if you like, you jump as fast as you click almost. So you can go like zip, 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 and get to like
Do you
cross.
use like a mouse or like a controller?
Either, but controller is a million times better. But you can move like supremely fast if you know what you're doing. If you don't know, you move around this speed, which still feels fun. But as you play the game, it becomes faster and faster, which I just love.
What happens if you don't move on the salt?
You can't. It snaps to the nearest salt. Like you can see in that corner, it like the little aimer does the thing. But I use this as an example because like the they could have easily made these corridors every like they could have made every single surface here be salt. And the gameplay wouldn't change that much, right? They're not strategic. I mean, they're probably a little strategically placed, but they're not placed there for a specific challenge or anything like that. They just create options, right? Like, do I hop here and then here and then here, or there, there? Like, do I go here or there? Like, there's so many different angles of approach. That lets you really kind of express yourself in an interesting way. Yeah. And so I wrote this down. Which patches of salt do you jump to? Does it matter? Does it matter whether it matters? The answer to the first question is And the first two questions is that it doesn't matter. In this case, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like you'll work your way through. But the fact that it's a choice that you made makes it matter. That's just something to think about.
Yeah.
It's a good game. This is like an old version of it, though. I think this was like from beta testing. So we talked about this. This is the thing that you brought up, rewards. Collectibles, weapons, anything. Like it'll.
I find like shifts in mechanics can be their own rewards.
Yes, I
So
agree.
like breaking up the gameplay is a sufficient amount of reward in most cases.
Yeah.
So like climbing up and then sliding down, or like
I just think it should be edited.
I mean even the ability to get like a dash in Hollow Knight
Yeah.
is like a reward. But
That is.
what does that do? It gives you the ability to change the way you play the game.
It completely changes the way you move. Yeah. Yeah. And that I don't know, that
So I'll continue then. Is that why you
that's applicable in most games. Like little things can completely change the way you play, and that is a reward because people want to try different things.
That's why like unlocking new cards in like Eternal is like, or in like most card games, is like so satisfying because now you can construct your decks in different ways.
Yeah.
Or unlocking new characters and like
So there are other
Brian's. Have you played Brian's little
slap in right now if we want.
33K game where it's like in like 3 kilobytes? He had this fun little game and you like unlock characters.
Oh, I didn't play that. No.
But as you unlock, basically the only reason you do anything is to get new characters, which just change the way the game is played.
That's cool. Huh.
Waterfall noise.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'll agree with it. I'll agree with you there. It doesn't have to be monetary rewards. So,
Do you want me to find where that is?
yeah, I talked a little bit about this earlier. Marry your level design with the mechanics of your game. This was also that workshop we did earlier that was synergy between level and design mechanics. This is the thing that I wrote for that other one, is that your levels can be the backdrop, it can frame the action, it can enhance the action, or it can be the action. We don't need to talk about this because we did that other time. But I just think this is like something to think about because like if the level is enhancing the action, then your traversal isn't going to be that boring, right? Something to think about. Other things you can do to make travel fun. Curiosity. So you have this looming building in the background.
I gotta play this game.
Me too. I haven't yet.
I'm using it as an example in my workshop I'm doing tomorrow. I still haven't played the game.
I'm also. We're in the same boat, my dude. But like, think about this: like the walk from here, where you currently are, to that
This
is in
whole
itself.
thing is basic. The whole game is basically just traversal that's interesting through curiosity.
Right. You want to know what's there, and just the fact that while you're walking there, you're anticipating what's there. Like,
From what I know, the only reason you're doing is like going to that mountain. Like
Yeah.
that's the entire game.
yes.
From what I know.
Yeah.
And so it's just one major curiosity with a bunch of minor curiosities along the way.
And I feel like if I had played Journey, the whole slides would be completely different. Yeah, it would be because like the game is a journey, right?
Yeah.
It's traversal made fun. I think it's a good example. Fantasy. You're a cowboy, and so you're swinging your horse around and riding through the plains. Like, man, like even if you're just riding, like, and I heard that it gets a little boring after a while, but like I've been watching my girlfriend play this game for several months now, and it like. To me, that wonder never dies when I look up and you're just like riding through this beautiful scenery on a horse and being a badass cowboy. It's just it's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can, like I said, curiosity, fantasy, wonder is another journey example. Like, look at that! Like you're filled with a sense of awe of like.
Does your scarf get longer the further you go?
It does, yeah, yeah. Ain't that cool?
Yeah, a little star.
I want to play this part. I just want to walk around here and look at that mountain, and see what that star is doing, like the reflection on the sand.
This game's so bad.
Ugh.
Every time I look at this game, I'm like, this. It's like PS4 only still, or something.
Yeah, yeah. Need to get that.
Like if it just came out on computers, it would be like the first game I bought. But I don't have a PS4.
Yeah. My last example is this is less level design, but like I don't know. I feel like Traversal's more fun when you can have silly stuff like this happen. I know Far Cry does a lot more of this, or maybe not more, but also a lot of this.
The ability to fail.
Yeah. Just makes it more interesting.
Minute failures make games more interesting in a lot of ways. The ability to have like a minute failure that doesn't completely destroy your PlayStation, your play session.
Right.
But like it's just like, oh, that's kind of either kind of funny or like, oh, that increases the tension slightly.
Yeah, I mean, like after this, the player's just gonna get up and get back on the horse and
his
like
health
be
is gonna
fine.
completely restore and it's like whatever. But like.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I failed. So next time when you have one of those things and you don't run into it, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't run into it.
Yeah.
That's actually a win because
I am less of a doofus now.
not running into that and not running into it, if you can't run into that and you don't run into it, then when you don't run into it, it's not. But if you can and you don't run into it, then it is a slight success.
Right, if they had like patched this game to have like a collider around the thing that prevents you from doing that, that's just like an experience detracted.
Or they just made your horse smart enough that it would know that it not only doesn't want to run into stuff, but it doesn't want you to run into
Which is what every single other game does, is like have the horses avoid shit. But like how many videos have you seen of someone riding their horse like full force into like a rock or a tree? And like it's just it makes me feel bad for the horse, but it's a virtual horse, so it's okay to laugh.
But this one is perfect because the horse is fine.
Yeah.
You don't even know something happened.
You're just getting bonked real bad. And then it actually like destroys the sign, which is cool. Yeah. That's all. That's all, folks. Huh?
It goes on forever.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty much it is Holly, I think it's weird.
So Jen got her grader, and it was like a week ago.